Hey, welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to, I guess this is kind of the second week of July, and things are moving quick. I mean, this month feels like it has gone by in a flash, in all honesty. From, Beryl at the beginning to now talking about some other types of weather, including the potential for some big time severe weather this afternoon and a pattern change on the horizon here going into kind of the end of the month. So, a lot of things to kind of look forward to here in the world of weather, a lot of things that are changing, and a lot of information to get out to all of you folks. Now, I will start off the video by saying thank you to everyone who tuned in to the premiere of the Scud Spotter podcast last night with Mitch West. That has done very well on the channel. It's got about 500 views, a lot of likes, a lot of really nice comments. Also, we gained a lot of subscribers yesterday from that and from kind of the past couple of videos. So welcome to those of you that are new to the channel, and to all my regulars, of course, also thanks for coming back. Also, I will let you know if you did miss yesterday, I said I was fighting a little bit of a cold. Still am. In fact, had a little bit of a fever last night, so if I sound congested or I look terrible, well, the looking terrible part is probably pretty normal, but if I sound congested, that's the excuse I'm going to go with. So, just be aware of that. I think with all of that said, I will also mention, if you haven't already subscribed, do so. The goal is 10,000 by the end of hurricane season, so, got a couple months to do that. We gained about 50 subscribers alone yesterday, so again, a big day that was. So again, like I said, thanks to all of those people, and like the video, and comment, let me know where you're watching from and what you are seeing out there. I think with all of that said, we can go ahead and get started with the video and start talking about some weather here. So we'll start with satellite imagery, something I like to do here, just to kind of give you a general idea of what, the country looks like right now. And the biggest kind of trouble spots this morning so far are kind of up into different portions of the Midwest, where we have these complexes of storms working on through. And we've been talking about this for a couple days now. I've told you it's going to be wave after wave of storm systems, and sure enough, that is coming to light here. In fact, we had some strong storms yesterday through portions of Illinois. I know we had some damage in some of those cities. So again, if you are watching in that area, definitely let me know, kind of what you saw with those storms. But unfortunately, we're going to do it all again today with more storminess, including the potential for some of these storms to be quite destructive, and cannot completely rule out the chance of a derecho this afternoon, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically just a storm system with very strong straight line winds. So that's something we're definitely going to talk about in today's video. All right, taking a look at radar imagery here, you'll notice, again, like I said, complex of storm after complex of storm. In fact, look at this MCV here. Notice this kind of comma head shape. In fact, I'm going to pause the radar here at the end here. In fact, let me back it up just a little bit here for you. Notice this little storm system in Michigan this morning. It has that comma look to it. This is what I'm talking about whenever I kind of talk about these, complexes of storms. This one wasn't necessarily a derecho, but it kind of has that look to it. Anytime we get, these areas on radar that have that comma look, that is a sign of very strong winds with these storms. And you'll kind of notice how I've drawn it here. You're getting that wind on the backside to really kind of funnel in there and push quite significantly out in front of the storm. And again, just creates very strong straight line winds. So that's going to be the main threat with these complexes of storms today, and even tomorrow and potentially Wednesday as well, throughout the Midwest and the Northeast. And again, a lot of people are going to see just, I can't really overstate how strong some of these winds are going to be. It's basically kind of imagine a hurricane on land, but a little quicker and, without the normal hurricane problems with surge and all, but wind-wise, pretty comparable. All right, current alerts this morning. You might be wondering, well, you're talking about severe weather, but all I see are orange boxes. Well, we'll probably get some severe thunderstorm and tornado watches this afternoon, but as of this morning, heat is the biggest thing that we are seeing on our watch and warning map. All of the orange boxes are heat advisories. The kind of purple, pink, burgundy, whatever color that is, are excessive heat warnings. So Again, it has been very hot so far to start summer. It's going to continue to be very hot today and really tomorrow as well. But the good news is for a lot of folks, especially from the Ohio River Valley northbound, relief is on the way later this week, and we're going to have much nicer conditions. So again, if you can get through the next couple of days, you're going to get some reward on the other side here, and we'll talk about that as well later on in today's video. All right, so diving into this severe weather threat today, there is a big area that is under at least some threat for severe weather, from Boston all the way to Denver, up to Minneapolis, as far south as Louisville, Kentucky. We could see strong storms, but the real bullseye area that I'm most concerned about, as well as the Storm Prediction Center, and I will note by saying there's a very high likelihood by the time you're watching this video, this map is updated, and maybe there's some red on here, or maybe the yellow is expanded, or whatever, but the same idea kind of holds in this area right in here, from Des Moines through Chicago, Springfield, Dubuque, Indianapolis, southern Wisconsin, southwestern Michigan has the highest threat today of strong straight line winds. And I'll show you that to you here on Future Radar in a moment. So that's the real bullseye, but again, anywhere from Boston to Denver to Minneapolis, and I know that's a big area, but anywhere in there could see destructive storms this afternoon. Another hot spot probably up into upstate New York, over near Scranton, PA, Binghamton, even there kind of near the Catskills and just south and west of the Adirondacks. Another little kind of hot spot maybe out into portions of no man's land, Nebraska, which I know people live there, just very low population part of the country there. But again, the biggest area though to watch out for is kind of that area in orange at the center of your map. So this does include a tornado threat today, but like I said multiple times, I'm going to continue to hit home the point. Straight line winds will be the biggest concern, although, again, a couple tornadoes are not out of the question. But I'll tell you, these are not going to be your typical Pretty Plains tornadoes. These are going to be kind of QLCS tornadoes, or just tornadoes embedded in a line of storms. They're going to be rain-wrapped, probably pretty quick hitting. So, that is a threat today, but overall, the wind threat will be more widespread and more people are going to be impacted by that, and the impacts could be just as strong as a tornado. But I did want to mention, nonetheless, that the tornado threat is a real concern today as well. All right, getting into tomorrow, another severe weather day, although tomorrow we're going to shift this towards the northeast a little bit. So we're going to be looking at places like Cleveland, Erie, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Syracuse, Binghamton, up into upstate New York, and surrounding areas are going to likely again see strong storms tomorrow. Straight line winds once again will be the main threat for just about anybody that is under severe risk on this map, but also cannot rule out an isolated tornado there in that yellow area on your map as well. So we'll be watching both of those threats tomorrow, and then we'll do it all again Wednesday, although the threat level looks to die down a little bit by Wednesday here, but still a marginal risk for much of the I-95 corridor from DC all the way up through Maine. So, multiple days of severe weather here. Today, though, I think is probably going to be the most significant, but again, could carry on through at least the middle of the week. And then after that, probably going to be another severe weather threat, although smaller, further south, and also a flooding threat will increase, and we'll talk about that here later on in the video as well. So again, we're doing it all here. We've been saved from the busy hurricane season, but unfortunately other parts of the weather are not deciding to calm down with hurricane season. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and I'm also going to, before we even take a look at any part of this model, let me tell you, it's not going to be perfect. This is not going to be great. They weren't great yesterday, and I told you they weren't going to be. But what you can do is, again, just even if you need to pause it here, go back to this map. If you are in, a threat level on this map, just be prepared today for the threat of a strong storm. Keep an eye to radar, keep an eye to your phone, should a watch or warning be issued, and just stay weather aware, because what, again, I'm about to show you on this model is not going to be perfect, but it gets the general idea of what we're going to be looking at. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into it. This is our NAM model. I say our NAM model like I own it. I don't. This is the North American model run by somebody somewhere, but either way, let's go ahead and look at it. So getting into this afternoon, things stay relatively quiet outside of what's left over from last night currently moving through up until later this afternoon. But you'll notice once we get to about 2, 3 o'clock or so, we're going to get a couple storms to begin to fire off. Could see some down here near the Ohio River Valley. We'll be watching that. But the big storm complex that we need to watch out for is likely going to start getting its act together right around sunset. Here we go. You'll notice, look at this line of storms beginning from Des Moines back up into central Wisconsin. Again, slowly but surely starting to get its act together a little bit here during the evening hours. And by the time we get into the overnight hours, by the time the sun is setting, a very strong complex of storms, again, with very strong straight line winds kind of pushing it in on the backside here, working on through. Again, main threats here will be obviously straight line winds, like I've mentioned. A couple embedded tornadoes are also possible. Hail, though, luckily not too much of a threat there. But here we go. That swings on through, likely through the Chicago area, sometime overnight tonight, through, anywhere from southwestern Michigan through potentially all the way down here into Illinois. Again, kind of anywhere in here this complex is going to be moving through and stay strong through the overnight hours. Eventually, by the time we're getting into the early morning hours of tomorrow, moving through Detroit, Indianapolis, portions of Ohio, and then getting into the Ohio River Valley. So that's the main threat today, is that line of storms. Now, that could be shifted further south, that could be shifted further north, it could start a little sooner, it could start a little later, but again, I've said it many times now, and I'll say it again, if you're in that orange or yellow area on this map, just be prepared for a destructive line of storms potentially this afternoon. Now, as we get into Tuesday afternoon, we'll have the chance to do it again in the Midwest, although, again, I think more scattered on Tuesday. You'll notice here for Tuesday evening, more just kind of scattered storms, in different pockets of the Midwest, and, again, probably more of a northeast threat by the time we're getting into Tuesday and especially Wednesday. Again, we'll need to watch out for that. And then, again, especially getting into Wednesday afternoon here, things get much nicer through this part of the country, and I'll show you the temperature map here in a minute, and dew point map. Things are also going to feel much nicer. Obviously, not having the severe weather threat, but it's just going to feel 10 times better than probably how it has felt the past couple of days, or really past couple of weeks, in all honesty. All right, that's the Midwest and their severe weather threat. Let's take a look now at the Northeast and kind of what we're cooking with up here. So, again, like I mentioned today, we'll go back to the same map. Slight risk is up for portions of the Northeast from Pennsylvania up to New York, but also going into tomorrow, more of the Northeast is kind of in that slight risk for severe weather. So this is going to be a multi-day threat here in this part of the country, and we'll go ahead and move this ahead. And here we go into this afternoon. Some of our models are picking up on the potential for a complex of storms kind of coming in off of Lake Erie and Ontario with, again, very strong straight line winds here into portions of western PA and New York. So we'll watch out for that. Again, that could definitely move through with those strong destructive winds. And that could, stretch all the way from, the Lake Ontario area of New York all the way back down into Ohio this afternoon. So again, this is in kind of that slight risk that is up, but we could also see pop-up storms anywhere in the Northeast this afternoon that could produce some strong winds, some frequent lightning, so on and so forth. But again, this complex of storms is the biggest deal in the Northeast today. Keeps on moving through, dies off a little bit during the overnight, hopefully, and then we clear out for our Tuesday morning before getting into Tuesday afternoon. Another complex of storms kind of develops here, somewhere in the Northeast. Again, it could be up here, it could be down here, it could be over here, it could be, anywhere in the Northeast. The models are not going to handle this perfectly, but just know if you're in that slight risk tomorrow, you've got a potential to see very strong straight line winds. And these storms continue working on through overnight Tuesday, again dying off a little bit, and then we get into Wednesday afternoon. And again, some more pop-up storms with the potential of some strong to severe storms being embedded in there for our Wednesday afternoon as well. So again, same general idea, severe weather going to be possible in that area. All right, so now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about this pattern change on the horizon, although we're still going to be talking about some rain and storminess within it. But let's go ahead and talk about the general setup. We've been talking about this for a couple days now. and we will continue to do so. But here we go. Basically, what is causing all this severe weather in the northern tier of the country is what is going to cause our pattern change. A big time bowling ball trough here, kind of swinging on through the northern tier. Again, bringing that lift, bringing that support for severe storms. But eventually, we get into Wednesday afternoon here, and again, at this point, bringing that severe weather into the northeast. But this trough extends all the way back down, really into the south central part of the country. So this is going to be a cold front. We're going to have high pressure on one side, low pressure kind of on the other. Good old-fashioned meteorology happening here. And we're going to get a bit of a boundary that tries to dive southward. What's going to happen with this boundary is it's going to eventually run into what is a very normal summertime air mass. And then this cooler, drier Canadian air mass, and hitting that Gulf air mass, we're going to have some problems here middle of the week and into late in the week in terms of flooding potential. And I'll show you that in a moment here. But again, that boundary kind of moves on in, stalls out a little bit, and then kind of getting back into the weekend, that boundary gets lifted back northward, and then the dew points and the muggy weather and the storminess kind of lift back north. But that boundary likely to stall for a day or two, and I can show you that here on this map. With our dew points. So again, this map, instead of me saying dew point, pretend it's the muggy meter. The more we're on the right-hand side of this key at the bottom of your screen down here, the more muggy it is, the more kind of beige the colors are, and the more green they are, the drier it is. So again, right now it is muggy just about through the entire eastern half of the country. That's why we have all those heat advisories and excessive heat warnings, as those wet bulb temperatures are really quite high right now. But what's going to happen is, again, that Canadian air mass is going to dive southward with that trough, and by the time we're getting into Thursday afternoon, look at this very sharp cutoff. We've got dew points sitting about in the 40s and 50s through Pennsylvania, but in the 70s in Virginia. So, a very sharp line is going to kind of form here where these two air masses begin to clash. And Meteorology 101, when two air masses are hitting each other, that's generally a sign that we're going to see some sort of problems. And I think this time it's going to be a flooding potential. We can take a look at why I think that is here in just a second. But again, those dew points continue to try to move southward. And again, this is that relief I was talking about as well. If you're, again, north of the Ohio River Valley, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, even Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, much of the Northeast, this is about as nice as it can feel for the, dog days of summer. Dew points in the 50s, highs probably only in the 80s. It's not going to feel like fall per se, but it's going to be the closest thing we felt to it so far this summer, for sure. So that'll definitely be nice, but unfortunately it doesn't last forever, and by the time we're getting later on into the weekend, all that muggy air, and especially a week from now, lifts back northward, and we're back into the summertime feel. Why I think we could have a flooding threat is this map right here, our precipitable water map. This shows kind of how much moisture is available in the atmosphere to wring out in terms of rainfall, and again, here's that front. Here's that boundary I've been talking about. This is Wednesday morning, slowly moving southward. And again, it's going to run into that Gulf air mass. And watch what happens for about 24, 48 hours here. Starting Thursday morning, going all the way through really about Saturday, Sunday, heck, even Monday here. This boundary does not move very much here right in this region. From Virginia, West Virginia, the Carolinas, Kentucky, and kind of surrounding areas, that boundary stalls out. And again, with those air masses punching each other, that's going to cause some lift, and we're gonna see some big time rainfall totals, and I'll show you that map in just a second. The good news is, though, I say good news, but what is likely to happen, though, about 7 to 10 days from now is all of that precipitable water gets lifted back northward, and we'll probably get back closer to a more pop-up summertime theme compared to just, a whole bunch of rain for a couple of days. So how could this look on radar? Well, here we go. We'll start this at Thursday morning, and you'll notice, look at that trouble spot I mentioned. Sure enough, it is showing up with some big time rain falling here in this region of the southeast starting Thursday afternoon. Really, actually, probably starting more like Wednesday afternoon, but getting into Thursday afternoon. And just look, every afternoon for a couple days here, a lot of rain falling in that region. and really anywhere along this boundary going to likely see some rain from really Wednesday through early next week, before then again probably becomes more of a pop-up storm theme. But again, we could see big blocks of rain, I think, for a good couple of days. Good news, though, is where there is rain, there are cooler temperatures. So even if you are still on the more muggy side of that boundary, it is at least going to be cooler than it has been due to that cloud cover and rainfall. And you'll notice here comes those cooler temperatures. We'll get this into Wednesday afternoon. Some of us could be 10, 20 degrees below what we should be this time of year through the Ohio River Valley and up through the Midwest. And eventually, again, even those cooler temperatures making their way into portions of the Southeast by Friday as rainfall chances increase, and that cloud cover helps to kind of block some of that sunlight and keep us a little cooler, and could even stay that way a little bit through the weekend. But I think overall speaking, getting into next week, a lot of us in the East Coast are going to start to warm back up, but then we could stay cooler back down into the South Central Plains. So this cold pattern isn't going to be super quick. It'll last for a while, but it may shift exactly who is seeing those coldest temperatures. We'll have to watch that. Now, this is our high temperature forecast from the National Weather Service for this Friday. And again, this is about as good as it gets. And remember, if you're kind of north of this line here, you're also going to be experiencing less humidity. So again, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, these kind of states, high temperatures only near 80 with very comfortable, humidity as well. So it's about as good as it gets this time of year. South of there, still going to be humid, but temperatures definitely less than they have been, only getting up into the 80s with some 90s down into Florida and into the Gulf states. But overall speaking, a much nicer pattern than maybe what we have been dealing with. All right, rainfall-wise, I'm going to go ahead and show the drought monitor, something I probably should have been showing in the past couple videos. But again, we are in some big-time drought here into the southeast, and luckily, this is the exact same area that is going to get a lot of rain out of this system. Now, I will add some of these drought numbers kind of down here into the PD of South Carolina and eastern North Carolina are probably a tad better now after some rain last week, but we'll add to that even. And taking a look at future rainfall, much of the Carolinas, Virginia, and kind of surrounding areas could get a good 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 6 inches of rainfall now through this coming Monday. And again, most of this really falling probably Thursday, Friday. So, concerned about a flooding threat for sure because of that, but definitely some much needed rain that will be useful to a lot of folks. So we'll be watching out for that for sure. Alrighty, well, I appreciate everyone watching. Again, discussed a lot here from severe weather to pattern change to flooding and a little bit of everything else in between. Again, thanks to everyone who watched the podcast yesterday. If you haven't, you can find it on this channel. Just click on the channel and it's kind of the featured video right now. So it's right there, easy to find. And again, thanks to Mitch West for coming on that podcast. And we'll definitely record another one. Probably, I don't want to give an exact time, but if the weather pattern stays quiet in terms of the tropics, if the tropics stay quiet, we'll probably get another one out within the next couple weeks. So we'll definitely keep you updated on that. With that said, though, have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great week out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.